Hello, St. Peter's friends. Today, our cloth color is white because white is the color of joy and it's the color of Easter, and Easter is the season of joy. We are adding some green today for grass and a road because we need a road for our characters to walk on today. Now, you may remember that our story on Easter Day was about Jesus' friend Mary and how she had gone to the tomb or the grave and found out that Jesus had risen to a new life. And she went and told the others, "I have seen the Lord." Well, this is another story that happened on Easter Day, but this storyteller is Luke. And Luke says that after the news that Jesus' body wasn't at the grave anymore, and the news that he had been seen in a new way, well, not everybody believed that. It's not surprising. It's a pretty weird kind of thing. And you know, if you weren't there, it would be pretty hard to grasp. So Luke tells us that two of Jesus' friends decided that the whole thing was over and they weren't going to be able to convince people to be kind and loving or fair or to share without Jesus. And they were sad. They were really, really sad. It made them just want to go away from all the sadness and all the confusion. So Luke says that they headed out of town on the road to a place called Emmaus. And at first, there were just the two of them. And we can imagine their conversation. They talked to each other. "Well, that was bad." "Yep, it was. That was really bad." "Yes, it was." When you're sad, you don't usually have big, long sentences. "What do you think about the stone being rolled away?" "Oh, I don't know." "Do you think he's alive, really?" "Oh, I doubt it. I think they might have made a mistake." "Well, what do you want to do now?" "I just want to cry." "Not again." "Well, of course. I thought I was going to be able to be helpful in the world. And I was getting good at it with Jesus. But without him, nothing seems right. Nothing even tastes right. I don't think even the birds are singing." "Nope." So they're talking to each other as they go along the way. And along came a stranger along the road. And the stranger said, "Hello, do you mind if I join you?" And they said, "Sure." And the stranger said, "Well, what are you talking about?" And they said, "Well, everything. Everything that happened in Jerusalem in the last few days." And the stranger said, "Really? What things?" "Well," the followers said, "you don't know? Where have you been? Jesus of Nazareth was killed, and it was pretty awful. And then some of our women friends said that they saw him, or they saw angels that said that he was alive, but nobody could find his body, and it's just such an awful mess. We couldn't stand it anymore, so here we are." Well, the stranger was Jesus, but they didn't recognize him. Sometimes, when you are really, really sad, you're all inside yourself, and life is confusing. Anyway, Jesus said, well, it does sound awful, but where do you think God is in all of this? And they said, well, who knows? And Jesus said, guys, listen. And so as they went, he told them stories. Some of them they already knew, stories about God. But he told them in such a way that they began to see God in a whole new way. And they began to think that maybe God was all about love and new life, not just in the good times, but also in the bad times. Like when a plant dies and it becomes compost and helps other things to grow. Or if you have to move and go away from your friends, but then you make new friends and then you've got a whole collection of friends. Or like when we make a mistake and we learn how to say, I'm sorry. That too is new life and a new direction. And they began to think that if that's how God worked, why couldn't God do something different with Jesus so that his people wouldn't give up on his work? Well, they hadn't thought about things in that way. And it started to sound kind of possible and a little bit exciting. So, as they went, they talked some more, and they really enjoyed being with the stranger. And so when they came to the village, they said, would you stay with us for the evening? Would you like to eat with us and maybe talk some more? And the stranger said, I would like that, sure. When it was time to start the supper, he lifted up the bread and he said the blessing. Blessed are you, Lord our God, sovereign of the universe, who brings forth bread from the earth. He said the words like he knew God really well, like he knew that the whole universe was in the bread. And he broke it like he could see the seed in the ground being rained on and warmed up and growing up through the earth to the sun and being harvested and milled into flour and shaped by grateful hands and baked. The whole universe in the bread, in the seed, becoming not a seed anymore, but a plant. He broke the bread like he loved it, the way that he had broken it so many times before at all their dinners. And they recognized that nobody could love bread like that. Nobody could see the universe in bread like that. Nobody could see God in bread like that except Jesus. And they gasped when they realized it was him. And then, when they recognized him, he vanished from their sight. That's what Luke says. Vanished, disappeared. And the friends realized that God could do new things. That Jesus did have a whole new kind of life, and that they could be part of that life once again. A life of bringing kindness and goodness into the world. Because endings and beginnings are two of the places where God does some of God's best work. They didn't know what was coming next, but they decided that they were going to keep on going with the work of Jesus, that they were going to go back to their friends and tell them that it was time to figure things out. And so back they went, quickly this time, back to Jerusalem, so that they could tell their friends, we have seen the Lord. This is our story for today. And I know that many of you have been baking bread these days with your families. You've been making bagels and pizza and loaves and flatbread and muffins. You have been taking the seed and the earth and the rain and the sun. You have been taking new beginnings into your hands, and the energy of the farmer and the miller. You have been taking endings into your hands, and you have made a new beginning by taking those great gifts from God and making them into food that helps to make people strong. Bread is an Easter kind of story. It's got the whole universe in it. It's got the great love of God in it. Does that sound strange? Maybe. But it's a wonderful kind of strange. Looking deeply into things is an important thing to practice. I hope that you will always enjoy making bread, whether it's pizza or pancakes or bannock or bagels. And I hope that when you make your bread, you will recognize the goodness of the earth and the great love of God. The friends recognized Jesus because he recognized the universe and God in the bread. So I hope that you can practice seeing the universe in the bread that you make. And I hope that you will enjoy it with thankfulness. I'll see you next time.